So in this presentation, we are going to talk about audio and its component. So when I say component, it's like the component which involved in capturing and playing your audio on the embedded devices. So audio or sound basically plays an equally important role as video in the embedded systems. So we cannot imagine any multimedia devices which don't have audio because that will not make any mean to the users who is using that embedded devices. So audio, it means like as an equally important part as we have video in our embedded devices, but the power consumptions in the audio subsystem is very less as compared to the video subsystems. So that's why you must have observed sometimes like whenever you are playing any video in your mobile phone, so the consumption of power happens at very fast rate. And but if you are playing only the MP3 audio in your mobile phone, so your battery will last for long as compared to the scenario in which you are playing some video on your mobile phone. So in a nutshell, basically audio plays a very important role, or we can say the oh, like after video, the anything important in the embedded devices, that is the audio. That's what I feel actually. And now basically for an application to produce sound, the system must include below components. So basically, playing a sound or capturing a sound is not so simple like a single device will do all the stuff. Even though if a single device is able to do that, that device might have different subsystem or the different devices, sub-devices for performing different tasks. So for a bare minimal audio pipeline, we must have these component in place to produce or capturing the sound. So first thing is card and devices. So card and devices are the devices basically which capture or produce the audio, and all these devices are connected on the sound card. So what is sound card here? So every time we talk about like my laptop has this sound card, my device has this sound card, or this chipset has this sound card. So what does this sound card means? So this sound card means like we have sound card is basically the connections of all the devices related to audio connected on one platform. So that connections of devices is called sound card. So basically which will play the role for capturing or producing the audio in your device which you are using. And then for each of these sound devices or each of these sound card, we need some control devices for controlling these devices from the SoC, because we might have some third party device into the system, so we need to control it from the SoC. So we should have some kind of control devices for controlling these devices presented into the system. Then we have mixer devices. Mixer devices basically does the role of mixing all the analog signals which is coming on the sound card. So it means like because we might have different audio channels and we might need to mix all these audios to basically give to the final touch to the user. So before giving final output to the user, we might need to mix the sound which is coming from different audio channels. So for that we use mixer devices. And then we have PCM devices basically which plays a very important role for converting your digital sound sequence to the analog waveform, or vice versa. It means analog to digital and digital to analog. Both of these operations are performed with the PCM devices. And then basically depending upon these devices, we have drawn one audio pipeline. So this is bare minimal pipeline basically, and this pipeline is for playing an MP3 file which is stored in the memory card of your device. So depending upon the architecture, basically this pipeline may vary. You might have some other different component in the system, okay? But this is just a bare minimal pipeline to give you an idea like how exactly one audio get played in the memory devices. So as I mentioned earlier, like our MP3 file is stored in the memory card, and this memory card is connected to the SoC by using PMCIe controller. We might have different controller as well depending upon the SoC you are using. And then basically MP3 file will be copied to the DRAM buffer of your CPU. or the SoC, which is dynamic RAM buffer, dynamic RAM memory basically. And then basically from the dynamic RAM, we need to copy the MP3 data which we have got from the memory card to the audio buffer, which is basically going to be used by the audio codec and the other audio devices presented in your system. So this job of copying the data from DRAM to the buffer, that is done by the DMA basically, which will be part of your SoC, and which will basically copy the data from the DRAM to the buffers. And these buffers are basically the buffer which is allocated specially for the audio channels. And DMA will play a very important role for copying this data from the DRAM to the buffer depending upon the use case. And then basically we will be having a controller in the SoC side. In this diagram it is not showing the controller, but we will be having one controller which will be connected to the audio codec in your system. And there will be basically two interface between your audio codec and your SoC. One is audio path, other one is the control path. So control path is basically for controlling your audio codec, and audio path is basically for transferring the actual data to the audio codecs. So in the coming presentation, we will be discussing these two path, means the configuration path and the audio path in detail. Okay. So for timing, you can see here like this audio codec is connected to the SoC by using the controllers, and then basically these buffers are passed to the audio codecs. Audio codec does its processing, and then basically it passes the data to the speaker, which by which we can, or the user can actually listen the sound. So this was just the bare minimal pipeline of the playing an MP3 file from the memory card to the speaker. Okay, so depending upon the system, I'm telling it again, like depending upon the system, we might have different component present into into our embedded device. We might have amplifier, or we might have any other stuff connected into the system. Okay, thank you.